Welcome to the 3030 Health Podcast. The following discussion is for education and entertainment. It is not intended to diagnose or treat disease. Please do not apply any of this information without first discussing it with your doctor. Here is your host, Dr. Ruiz.
Hello everyone, super excited about my guests today. My guests are Zach Moran and Jorge Aragon. They are both CrossFit athletes and they're here to share their story about how they handle competing at an elite level and their everyday life. I hope you enjoyed the show. Hello everyone, super excited for the show today. I have two people that are super cool and almost superhuman. I have Jorge Aragon and I have my friend Zach Moran. Zach is a current student at the Southwest College of Naturopathic Medicine, and Jorge, he was telling me a little bit about his life, but I want him to tell you from his own perspective. So without further ado, Jorge, what is your hero story?
I'd have to say that my hero story starts just with me doing track and field as a young kid, elementary school. I played, soccer, basketball, other sports, and I just wasn't so great with the ball and other stuff. But I realized I could always run, and I could run a little bit faster, a little bit longer than most other people. So I started running long distance. I had my ups and downs. I was always really competitive in track. I kind of lost the love for it a little bit, and when I started doing mixed martial arts, soon after that discovered CrossFit, it reignited my passion to just be as fit as I could. I always wanted to be faster than someone. If I couldn't be faster, then I wanted to be stronger than them. And if I couldn't be stronger, I wanted to last longer. So basically, when I was 16, discovered CrossFit with my friend. We did our first workout in my bedroom. It was just 3 movements. We just did a circuit, pull-ups, handstand push-ups, and squats. And from there, garage workouts, rusty kettlebells, patches of grass just completely smashed in the front yard, and working out with good people, meeting amazing, strong-minded, strong-willed people who inspired me and helped me realize that everything I wanted to do, I could do without having to give my life away, because I originally wanted to join the military, and when I didn't join, to go to college, I had more and more amazing experiences outside of military lifestyle, which was, getting to coach sports teams, getting to work out with great people like Zach, and getting to help normal everyday people change their lives. And I realized that was what I wanted to do and not necessarily go fight overseas.
Now, how old are you?
I'm 23.
23. And when did you start doing the CrossFit thing?
Started when I was 16. In my bedroom, my buddy was on the computer. He's like, I'm going to start doing this thing to get in really good shape. And he shows us the CrossFit main site.
So you were doing HQ CrossFit, Dave Castro approved, workouts.
That's right, main site.
And that's around the time when I started doing, the paleo thing. And, back in the day, you couldn't say CrossFit without paleo and vice versa. Everyone was into that. Did you follow a specific diet, or was it just main site workouts?
I did not do paleo because I was still in high school, and I didn't start considering nutrition until I started college. Right around there, I learned about carb backloading, and I never went paleo because I think my whole life I ate all these carbs. I'm Mexican, tortillas is not really a thing you give up if you're Mexican. I stuck to that stuff, and I never really went full paleo.
And it depends on your calorie expenditure, Like me, I was never an athlete. I was always a nerd, and I never did enough exercise to justify having a high carbohydrate load. Dietarily, I feel a little bit better when I'm a little bit lower on the carbohydrate spectrum. A lot of people equate paleo with keto, which is not true. Although back in the day, 8 years ago, paleo almost meant being low carbohydrate. And now we understand that if you need those carbohydrates to tap into the glycogen pathways to do that grinding, you do need to carb backload, and it's completely different. And then back in the day, it was either paleo or zone. I don't know if you remember that. And everyone was doing either or, and and that's a different story. But we're not talking about history right here. We're talking about now. Zach, what's your hero story?
See, I had a background in wrestling. My freshman year of high school, I got cut from baseball. I got cut from basketball. I got cut from all these sports. I picked up wrestling. I was too small for all these sports. But wrestling, I could fit into a weight class. And wrestling was the sport that translates really well into CrossFit. A lot of really good CrossFitters have come from a wrestling background. And when I had finished my collegiate career wrestling, I wanted to, adapt into more of a lifestyle approach to fitness and to something I could still, work hard at, compete at, fill the void of that wrestling career that I was doing 3-4 hours a day in college. And growing up, my father was always my training partner. My dad was a professional boxer, bodybuilder, and he actually made the CrossFit Games as a master's.
Really?
Yeah, and so one year we both competed, which was really fun. We both made the regionals together. He got to move on, I didn't, and so he has that on me. But he's always been like, kind of like my hero and the person I look up to when it comes to like fitness and training, success in the gym, outside the gym. Once he got me started in CrossFit, it was all like downhill from there. I was hooked, and that was 2010. You started? Roughly
2000 and like mid 2009, I think.
I think I started about mid 2010, so I was about 19.
Which finals did he make? What year?
He was 2015. My first year at regionals, he went.
So that's a fronting year, isn't it?
Yes, that was a pro year. Yep, that was one of his last ones, I think.
Yeah, that was his last one because then he went to teams.
Yeah. And then Frazier after that.
Ben and Frazier, yeah.
Yeah. So it's super interesting because you move from a super competitive region, the Northeast, to do you think that this is less competitive, or is it competitive in other ways? Because just like Camille, you are going through medical school at the time, and how do you manage, dude? Like, what the fuck?
Time management. You never waste a minute when you're in medical school. I think being in this region, it's competitive. Don't get me wrong. Every region's competitive. The Northeast used to have really good athletes, and it probably was more competitive at the time. But since then, people have moved and switched regions, and so every year it's different. And so you never know, depending on which year people move, which region's going to be tougher. So being out here, it's harder to train in the summer because of the heat and because of other factors. Back home, it was harder to train in the winter. So there's all these little factors being in different regions. But being in medical school has definitely played a huge role in my training. It's helped me in some ways because I have a lot more knowledge about how to take care of myself, better supplementation, better nutrition, better recovery methods. But in addition, I only train an hour to an hour and a half every day versus back when I was training in the Northeast, it was closer to 3 to 4 hours, which is, I think, more characteristic of a lot of athletes these days.
Do you think that doing that you were burning the candle at both ends, or was the intensity lessened because it was expanded over more hours?
When I was training 3 to 4 hours, I was able to break it up throughout the day because of my time commitments weren't as great. I was coaching, I was managing a gym, so I was already there. I was able to work out on my off time and recover. Medical school, I mean, as you know, you sit and lecture for 8-9 hours. It takes a lot of attention. It takes a lot of energy to do that. And then you get to the gym and you're left with an hour, hour and a half to train before you got to go home and study. So it's just a different type of attention span, a different type of energy. And you have to be really particular about your intensity when it's only 60 minutes. You know, if you only have that time, you have to make sure you use it as efficiently as you can.
What about you, Jorge? It's not like you're just sitting at home, getting money from sponsors. You have time commitments and you work in a different places. Can you tell us about what you do and how do you manage your time in order to help you achieve your goals?
Basically, since last year and even a little while before that, most of my life has been spent training at 5 a.m. or earlier, starting and going until about 7 or 8. That's how I start my day most of the time, is doing my workouts. But I also do nutrition and exercise counseling for my mom, who's a doctor, for her patients whenever they have chronic disease or anything that the doctor or the nurse might refer them to me for. I have a studio and also a little office where I do the consulting, and I have flexibility in my schedule. So if I'm going to train, and I tell the doctor and the nurse I'm going to be training, and I tell them when I'm going to be back, and if they have patients who they wanted me to see while I was gone, then I'll just get them in for what I call a transformation session, and we go from there. I was doing some other stuff, strength conditioning, training, coaching other athletes, but now for the last month, I've been taking a step back from that and continuing through to regionals so I can dedicate more time.
What's your client base like? Who is like your prototypical client?
So right now, most of my clients are between like 20 to 35 years old. Some of them are people that I've known for a while, and some are people who were patients of my mother's, and a couple were people, from Facebook who wanted to sign on with me. But I started out actually coaching a lot of her older patients who were like between 60 and 75 was the oldest, kind of all over the place.
What's like your philosophy of practice? Like where do you see people are failing at achieving their goals?
They're failing by not getting started.
Yeah.
They're failing by not continuing, and they're failing by doubting themselves. It's not necessarily in the program. Obviously that can have a big effect on them. I mean, the program can make the whole difference, but it's in what people do, on a day-to-day basis, as opposed to what they do the 1 hour that they're working out with me.
Or the short term that they only come in for 6 weeks and they give up after.
Right.
That's super interesting because, like, for example, my sister, I have seen her progression, through Instagram, and it was exactly that. We started in this paleo, CrossFit kind of hybrid world a couple of years apart. And the difference between me and her is that she started doing CrossFit, and she, and I see her doing handstand push-ups and I, kipping and I'm like, damn, and I haven't been as consistent as she has. So I always like to give my audience some actionable things. What can you start doing yesterday in order to get you to a place where you can be more competitive, maybe at CrossFit or maybe at any of your adventures that you want to, like maybe you want to rock climb, maybe you want to do all these different things. What do you guys think would be the most important tip that you could give my audience about how to start, how to implement these habits, how to time manage? What do you guys think is the biggest needle mover in order to get a person from like a standard level of fitness to being a more advanced and maybe even qualify for regionals?
I think the number one thing that CrossFit is so keen on, as well as what's super beneficial for athletes, is to have a training partner or someone with them. It's whether it's accountability for some people, like getting them in the gym, getting them consistent, getting them to not only to push themselves, but to enjoy the process. I've always said that if you can have someone work out with you, you're going to work out harder and you're going to have more fun doing it. And you're going to be able to pursue that goal a lot longer than you would individually. So CrossFit's always, preached community and having group classes. And I think that's a huge factor is why it's so successful. I think people come because it's good results, but they stay because they find friends and community, and they find just having good time really through the process, even when it's tough and challenging. having someone there with you, training with you, even if it's someone across the country, you can talk back and forth. Hey, how was your workout? Like it can be anything, but doing it individually, I think is really hard.
And that's the truth, because in reality, CrossFit has always preached, this sense of community. And that box scenario where you are seeing the people at the same class and you're meeting together and you see the numbers on the board, and you compare yourself and the last person that finishes the WOD, is clapped, you're clapping for them to, to kick it. It's that sense of community is crucial, and that's probably, you are right. That's the reason why it's addictive, and that's the reason why people like geek out on it. Jorge?
Yeah, I was going to say something like mindset, and I was going to say, well, maybe nutrition. And I think I'm actually going to have to agree with Zach, because you're talking about going from competitive to truly insane.
Commitment.
Yeah.
It's a true commitment. You make sacrifices.
Yeah. None of it, first of all, you have to understand that nothing is going to get you there besides yourself. That being said, you're not going to get there alone. And the way I'm talking from experience is in 2015, the first time Zach went to regionals, I didn't go because there was a heavy clean and jerk. And I was top 30, top 20 in every workout except for that clean and jerk. I got like 300th place with a 275 clean and jerk. And so that completely knocked me out. That was the first year they dropped it from 40 to 20 people that went to regionals, and so I didn't go. That year, I worked a whole lot on strength in the off season. While everyone was going to regionals, I trained strength all by myself. Come to October, that 2015, we're past the CrossFit season. My friends invite me to go to their gym, which is kind of close to here, East Valley CrossFit. And the night before, I went out with my friends. We had been drinking and stuff, but I showed up to the gym at 7 a.m., trained with the competitors. And
that's a bad idea.
I got my ass kicked, even though like I'd been a regional athlete, got my ass kicked, but I had a ton of fun.
Yeah, you have to enjoy the process because you're going to get your ass kicked no matter what. And so if you've got friends around you to get your ass kicked with you, you build good relationships, and it's much more enjoyable.
Exactly. And when I signed up there, I hadn't paid for a gym membership since I was like 17. I had been coaching, and training by myself. I thought like nobody could keep up with me and all this crap. But then I started training there. People were beating me. And I was just like, okay, this is probably my last year doing CrossFit. And that was in 2015. And so I started to show up to the workouts. And my goal was to push my friends there to become better than they were. So I would show up and be like, okay, I'm going to push Andrew to get to be the best that he can be for this year. In the end, man, that was my best open finish. I got 7th place in 2016, and I was in the best shape ever. I went back to regionals.
Yeah, without even realizing it, right?
And no, I showed up the whole time hoping to help other people get better.
Yeah.
You mentioned that in your side gigs, you talk about a lot about mindset. Can you expand on that? Like, is it more like a meditative mindset, or is it like trying to move mountains, or what do you mean about mindset?
I have a really simple term for what I do on a daily basis with my clients. It's called a focus check. And it can be anything from quotes from a book to like check your battery phone usage, see how that was the last one that we did today, see how much time you're spending on your phone. I have weekly challenges for my clients. This week's is turn off all electronic devices an hour before bed. And last week was spend 10 minutes outside barefoot. So it can be anything like that. I have a 5-step mindset training process. It actually has turned into 6 now.
It'll be 10 by the end of the year.
Yeah, all these books. It's number 1 is starting with a growth mindset. So making sure, finding any places where you have a fixed mindset and changing it over to growth. The second step is we'll go into visualization. So we start kind of visualizing what they want to accomplish. The third step is why. Why do they want to do it? We get a little deeper at that point. Fourth step is going into the battle plan. And I call it the battle plan because you need to set your objective, you need to determine your obstacles and your path. That also gets pretty deep. But step number 5 is called the reminders and mantras. And that is, everybody can say their own mantras to themselves. Anything that whenever things are going really hard, you can hang on to that and always come back to whatever needs to be done.
That's so cool because I always suggest doing meditation, having a meditation practice. And mantras come to my head whenever we talk about meditation, and I have patients that are super stressed, and and I tell them, if Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk and Steve Jobs, they all had meditation practices, you're not busier than them. So there has to be some sort of thing that makes you even better at what you're doing by having control of your thoughts. And I apply this a lot when people that have their mind racing before going to bed. The whole point of meditation is being able to control your thoughts and maybe clear your head. So if you're in control of your thoughts, imagine all of the things that you can control. Negative thinking, your mind is racing. Maybe you can stop that and fall asleep. Being nervous, hyping yourself up, so many things. So it's so important to have mindfulness. So I totally geek out on that stuff, man. For both of you guys, a lot of my patients come to me, and one of the questions is, do you exercise? And then they'll go, yeah, I exercise, 4 or 5 times a week. And then I go, oh, do you have, what do you do? And they'll go, oh, I'll go to the gym and I'll do a couple of curls. And there is no plan. There is no battle plan. What is the importance of the battle plan specifically with achieving your goals?
I think having a strategy, a plan, a program, something that keeps you on track is the difference between an average athlete and a games athlete. A lot of the time, the mentality obviously as well, but you need a game plan to get you to your goals. I know that before I get to the gym every day, I'll know how much time I have. And because it's such a limited amount of time, I'm going to build my battle plan according to that time. And
according to your weakness.
Exactly. So I'll build my battle plan so that it really focuses on what I'm deficient in. What are my weaknesses in this sport so that I can get to the next level. If handstand push-ups are one of those weaknesses, that's going to be focused on. For me, I'm really good at burpees. I don't need to be doing burpees. My battle plan is, forget that, let's go attack weaknesses. And you really have to leave your pride at the door in order to do that. And I think a lot of athletes who are willing to set their intention and work on their weaknesses and have a strategy and trust the process of that strategy will accomplish their goals. I think they will reach that next level.
Jorge, what was it, the clean and jerk or the snatch that you had problems with?
Clean and jerk.
Okay, how did you attack that problem? How did you prepare yourself? What was your battle plan to get better at the clean and jerk?
First of all, just background. In 2014, I went to regionals. I had a coach for like a year and a half before that who would write workouts specifically for me. And I got my clean and jerk up to like 300, a little over 300 pounds, 305. I think 310 was the heaviest that I had done. I was in 2014, and after regionals, he no longer kept coaching me. So I started doing my own workouts. I would bounce around all over the place, do all kinds of stuff. And in December, I hired a new coach for 2 months. That coach was my buddy who introduced me to CrossFit, who we worked out. We did our first CrossFit workout like inside my room. I hired him in December when we had the Open starting in February. And he programmed, for everything that you could expect for the Open. Mm-hmm. But that was the first year that they put in a max lift.
Yeah.
And so that was not expected. And we didn't prepare for it.
The beauty of CrossFit.
Exactly.
The unexpected.
And in 2014, I had gotten 45th place. There were 48 qualifying spots. In 2015, I got 42nd place, but there were 20 qualifying spots. So I had improved even with that awful score, you know. So I knew that I could kind of back off my strength, which was the aerobic stuff, and I did all the strength stuff I could for the next 6 months.
Get stronger.
Yeah.
And then, do you guys have like a strength bias within your training? Like, do you have a specific amount of time you spend with the compound lifts, and then do you do your metcons, or are you including your strength bias within the metcon? You know, because like I remember like Black Box. Was it Black Box? I think it was Dutch Lowy. I don't know if you guys are familiar with him. They do a specific, strength bias where they were doing Wendler for a very long time, Wendler 321, and so everyone in that box would do Wendler before they did a 15 to 20 minute metcon. Do you guys do something like that, or do you incorporate it into your workouts?
I have started doing barbell in every single workout because it is my weakness. I make sure I have at least one part where I'm going to be challenged by a barbell. And it's not always going to be super heavy. But I do, heavy lifting in probably 4 out of 6 workouts per week. When it comes to those, I mix it up a ton. Sometimes it'll be like just, snatch, take a seat for like 2 minutes and then come back and snatch. Or it'll be a complex. So I mix it up, but I don't have a strength bias. I'm not a strong athlete compared to the other guys.
What about you, Zach?
For me, it's I love variability. I love the unknown. I like to challenge myself in different ways. I've been doing it for about 8+ years, maybe almost 9 now, and I don't think I've ever done the same workout other than a few like milestone and regional workouts over. I will mix a strength in the middle of 2 metcons. I'll put a strength at the end of an hour workout. Because when it comes to CrossFit, you never know how you're going to be challenged. And with variability like that, you're training for the unknown and you're testing yourself in capacities that you could be tested in a competition. And so for me, I will incorporate strength almost every day. Some days I'll be, a long endurance running workout where I won't get into the gym. But I would say probably 5 out of the 6 days, I'll incorporate some strength as well as some gymnastics, as well as a cardio piece. It could be a whole variable amount of different things, but the idea is to see and test for everything.
Just like we did a workout together on Sunday just a couple days ago, and it was power cleans at 255, but we did that after rowing 1,500 meters, doing a bunch of pegboards, running at 1,200.
Yes, you mix it all together.
So the heavy lifting was in the middle of a really long workout.
Aerobic workout.
Yeah.
So
what do you guys do for endurance? Are you hitting the trails, or are you doing any like 5Ks or anything like that?
Yeah, well, I mean, I will run upwards of 5-6 miles some days. I mean, I did a 40-minute row the other day. It's totally different every day, and that's what I love about this sport is that you can come in here and you can program something different and still get better every day. And so, yeah, the aerobic capacity is skiing, rowing, biking, running, burpees for an extended period of time.
Yeah.
That gets spicy.
I love going to the trails. I think Saturday, my last piece was I went to South Mountain, and I've had my 20-pound weighted vest. I had my Camelback with 10 pounds of plates in there, my Camelback filled up, and an extra water bottle, and hiked for, I think it was about 3 miles, and after each mile we would do like 30 to 40 push-ups with the weight on.
Yep. We're going to Prescott this weekend to train some altitude. We'll probably do some outdoor running. And
what about the swimming? How do you guys, there's always a swimming component. Lately has, what's his name? Orlando. Yeah, Orlando almost drowned. So how are you guys training for the swim?
Floaty.
Because it's tough in Arizona.
Yeah, get a pool and just learn how not to drown.
Actually,
He's a good swimmer.
I avoided swimming my entire life until October last year.
And now he's decent.
Well, now I can survive in a lake in the middle of the night, and I know that because I tried.
The unknown and the unknowable, fuck it. I'm just going to go to a lake, and if I die...
Yeah, if I survive this, I'm ready for the games.
Yeah, modal domains be damned.
I was a lifeguard, actually, when I was in high school. So I had a lot of, like, swimming background. I lived on a lake growing up. So swimming for me is, like, relatively comfortable. I'm not, like, a proficient, like, Olympic swimmer by any means. I'm short and dense, so it doesn't really help.
I swim like this.
But, yeah, I mean, there's no swimming in regionals. So right now we're not focusing on it.
I do it once or twice a week,
Yeah.
and I don't usually do more than 1,500 meters.
Yeah.
What about, someone that is new to the sport and has a couple of questions like for example, CrossFit gets a bad rap because anyone can basically buy a license and open a CrossFit. And it was Greg Glassman's, vision, he big libertarian dude. He wants the cream to rise to the top, and an open market would allow everyone to have, competition. So, yeah, so, you can get your gym, you can open it, and if you suck, you're not going to make it. For someone that's new to the CrossFit scene, how would you guys recommend finding a gym?
It's a good question because when it comes to CrossFit gyms, they're all advertised the same way. There's just a name in front of CrossFit, and there's really no rating system. There's really no criteria where it separates you from another gym. So a lot of people will go based on
Price.
Recommendation and price.
Yeah.
So my friend loves this gym. She's got great success here. She thinks it's awesome. Coaches are great. She's got a good community there. No one really gets hurt. She had good results. Okay, that sounds like a good gym to go to. I usually look on the website first. I know that if that gym has coaches with bios that have lots of credentials, certificates, people pursuing more education on top of a level 1, I know they're interested in giving the best education to their clients. And so for me, that's a big piece. And then in addition, I also look at their programming, which is usually publicized on their website. And as long as I know programming well enough that I know what to look for, someone who's new to it, you want to look for variance as well as detail. People who are just throwing a couple words on a slide aren't invested. You want to look for a gym who's invested, and usually it ends up costing a little bit more, but it's usually be much more worth it.
Yeah.
So, look for a gym that has a good attendance rate because they're having good success. Good coaches with good credentials, not just in CrossFit, maybe even like a degree or something of that nature, pursuing some type of certificate. And then, someone who pays attention to details. Is the gym approachable? Is it messy? Is it, well taken care of? These are things that should stick out to you when you first enter.
And then, drop in for a free class and then see, you could be the best gym in the nation. And if you don't jive with it, then, it's not going to work for you.
Totally. Some gyms are super competitive, and if that's not your cup of tea, then you have to look for somewhere else, and opposite too.
You can feel the difference when you go into a gym where the workouts are just written up in a couple words, and the coach leads a 5-minute warm up. It's the same thing every single time.
Yeah.
And that between that and the one where you walk in and 3 people introduce themselves to you, and not one of them is the coach because they're just nice people. Yeah. And they know the coach is busy, and if they see the coach in the distance, they'll just wave to him, and be like, hey, there's a new person here. And when the coach listens to you, they hear what you're saying instead of just treating you like you're a sheep and going for the same thing everybody else is there for.
In the message boards and all, there's always is this your first class? Okay, you're going to do the same workout, we'll just scale it down. And that's not cool, if someone that's never picked up a barbell in their lives, and then you're instead of doing 190 on the deadlift, you'll just do 45. That's cool, just do the barbell. And they've never been instructed how to even have good mechanics. So that's a big red flag for me. Having an on-ramp program or a beginners program or a beginners class, and kind of like a boarding or an orientation, and eventually move into the Gen Pop class.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think on ramps, I miss that because I just think it's second nature to have those. I know that some gyms don't, but I think it's absolutely
Yeah.
significant. You need an on ramp class because some of these movements are super complex, and to throw people into a class who've never experienced them is just irresponsible.
Yeah.
You know,
I don't think I've been to a gym that didn't have a baseline of some sort. And hopefully, if you're going to drop in for a class at a CrossFit gym, they ask you if you've done CrossFit before.
yeah.
And if you say yes for a certain amount of time, then yeah, they'll let you jump in. But if it's your first time, like you said, and like, all right, let's come do the workout now.
Let's do Murph divided by 3.
Yeah. Just a matter of reflection of the coaching and the management of the gym.
What about CrossFit gets a bad rap about injuries and people messing up their shoulders, or what would be your retort or your rebuttal for that?
I love this question because I hear it all the time. Most of the people that have the argument that CrossFit is bad for you have never tried CrossFit, and they don't really have much experience with it. They've heard it from someone else, and they're relaying that information. I think staying on the couch and not doing anything is probably much worse for you. But that being said, I look at the statistic rates of like getting hurt in other gyms in sports in comparison. We do much better. There's way fewer injuries in a CrossFit gym than like a rec soccer league.
Yeah. Exactly.
Running, there's something like over 70% of runners, casual runners, report an injury every year, whether it's a sprained ankle or something of that nature. And I would say, CrossFit does have all these fail compilations on YouTube, which really doesn't help our reputation. But if you look at all those videos, it's like the same 3 people in the same 3 circumstances replayed on all these different videos at once. So like 1 or 2 have done things to cause injury, but millions of people are doing this program, getting great results with very limited injury.
I think it's easy to get injured in CrossFit if you have a big ego and you don't listen to the coach. And if the coach is just like, yeah, fuck it, do whatever you want.
It's true. I mean, you do have to make sure that you are prepared for the workout or the movement at hand. And that's the coach's job, I would say, most of the time. And people who do get hurt are the ones that do try to go too fast too soon.
I haven't really dealt with a whole lot of that recently because I think people who talk to me about CrossFit typically know that I've been doing CrossFit since I was 16 and realize that I haven't been injured and I've been doing it really intensely for a long time. Yeah, for sure.
Same for me. I've never been injured either. And I mean, that's because we take care of ourselves.
Right.
We know what we're doing and we're conscious of our movements. We build a good foundation.
And we've been doing it for a long time.
It's remarkable that we're able to move as much weight, to work out for the duration we do with as little injuries as we see.
And freak accidents do happen, but I think one of the most dangerous high school sports is cheerleading, and people don't bat an eye, but because some of these movements, like you guys said, are kind of intimidating, and some of these movements are pretty crazy, it's easier to say, oh yeah, I'm not gonna do CrossFit because it's scary and I'm gonna get injured. Other than what about TBIs in football and soccer? What about all of these things? And yeah, it is scary, but wouldn't you want to have the functional movement knowledge of being able to put 315 pounds over your head? That's pretty cool.
Absolutely. And the greatest part is that when you do have a good foundation, you have very little risk of injury and a huge ceiling for success. That's what's great. People come in here every day getting better and getting healthier. And that's what's huge, I think, for me, is just seeing the progression. no matter what age, what capability. I mean, I've worked with 75-year-olds, 80-year-olds. I've worked with pregnant people, even paraplegics. And there's been always just good attention to detail and always good progression and success and good results. And no matter what, where they are and within their fitness, they can follow the same program and get better results. And so I'm a huge advocate for the sport.
Okay, so day in the life. Okay, Jorge, go.
Okay, I'll tell you what I did today. Today was an awesome, chill day. I went to bed at like 10 last night. Woke up at 6:30. Had my breakfast.
What'd you have for breakfast?
I had a big breakfast. I had an egg omelet with spinach and Munster cheese cooked in coconut oil. I had a bowl of Greek yogurt with diced strawberries and toast with almond butter and sliced bananas.
That's about what, like 800 calories?
Yeah, I aim for about 800 calories or so per meal.
How many meals?
And that's my big meal. I do like 3 or 4 of those, and I'll have a few other smaller meals.
How many calories per day are you consuming?
I don't count. I mean, my goal is a minimum of like 3,000.
That's about right. Yeah, with that much at least.
So I had my breakfast, took the dogs out, took my brother to school, and I went outside and I meditated a little bit. I just was sitting in my backyard. I have a big tree. I got to see a couple birds flying around. That was a chill little. I actually had a cool moment today meditating. Went and trained from 10 a.m. to noon. After I trained, I had some of my food from Scratch Culinary, some supplements, and then I went on a hike. After I finished the hike around 1:30, I went to the office, see if the doctor had any patients for me. She didn't. So I went home, ate some more, and around 4:30, I went to go see a new client of mine. He's a young kid, rock climber, and he wants to do some strength conditioning with me. So I went to go watch him climb today. It's right down the street from here. And after I watched him climb, I came and did a workout with Zach. So I trained for probably about 2.5 or 3 hours today, including warm up, stretch, foam roll, all that kind of stuff.
I don't know how personal this is, but what kind of supplementation are you doing?
I don't think that's personal at all. I just do, like before my workouts, I do, X Endurance has a supplement called Fuel 5. I'll take that. It's like 4 different sources of carbs and then lactate as well, which is just the immediate fuel source for your body. So I mix 2 scoops of Fuel 5, a scoop of Hydro X. I do that before my workout. Then I drink all that with like 20 ounces of water. I drink another big thing of water. After the workout, 2 scoops of Fuel 5 plus a scoop of protein from X Endurance. At night, I take creatine. Usually I'll take like 1 scoop before bed. Just like straight dry scoop into the mouth and taste it.
That's hardcore right there.
Tastes really good. Actually, yeah. I mean, I would recommend it. But and then the X Endurance has the Immune Boost, which is the multivitamins and phytonutrients, as well as the fish oil supplement with vitamin D, and Extreme Endurance, the lactic acid buffer.
What about you, Zach? What's your day like? And if you don't mind sharing, do you supplement, or what do you do to keep up?
Yeah, keeping up. That is the key word. Keeping up with this guy. For me, I usually start at like 6 a.m. I usually try and get to school like 7:30ish. So I'll have like all my meal prep, my good breakfast in the morning, which is usually some carbs and some protein. Usually like oats. Today was oats and an orange and some peanut butter and stuff. Some nuts and seeds in with oats. And then I usually get a good amount of studying before class starts. And then I usually sit in class from 8 to 8 to 4-ish most days, with an hour lunch break. So a lot of lecture time. And I've been really trying to use the standing desk. I never realized how much sitting can affect you until I started sitting for 8 hours a day, like the corporate world. And so now I really have appreciation for these people.
Dude, I'm using a standing desk, and like at work, I try to stand as much as I can because I did 4 years sitting down at the school.
You understand?
Yeah,
Yes.
no, and like right here, I have like a bar underneath my desk, so you see me, I'm like extending my hip flexors, it actually like that movement, that little movement, kind of makes you a little bit more aware, and it's stimulating.
Totally. It keeps you awake during class. lunch lunch is usually an hour, and I try and usually get either some studying done or some stretching and training. Usually it's something light, just movement prep, but at least there's something in the middle of the day to keep my body and my metabolism going. Around 4:30, I do a little bit more studying after lecture, and then 5 o'clock, I usually get to the gym, do a good, solid either workout or warm up, jump in the class workout at 5:30. I love working out with people, and I don't usually get a chance to, so I love jumping in the classes when I can. Till 6:30, and then I'll either add an extra component at the end of that. So usually I'll end up with about an hour and a half of training, and I usually end up coaching right after. Coach for an hour or so. Get home, usually around 8 o'clock, get some good nutrition in me, some good food, lots of protein. And then I do meditation at night and stretching every day for like half an hour before bed. And then usually get to bed, get some sleep. Trying for 8 hours every night. Sometimes that gets cut short with a test or cramming for something, but it's pretty consistently 8 hours.
And how many calories are you trying to pack in every day?
Because I'm not spending as much that he is, probably close to 3,000, maybe a little bit less. Because of wrestling and all of my career in sports, I haven't really had to focus on my nutrition. I can listen to my body and know what it needs at the time. But yeah, probably 25, probably around 3,000, I would say.
Yeah, and any supplementation? Because, like, dude, Jorge is, like, killing it, man. He's
Crushing it. I'm also a big X Endurance fan. So I'll do X Endurance in the morning as well for some fish oil with vitamin D incorporated. And then I also take a B vitamin. I don't do caffeine or any type of coffee or stimulants. So my B vitamin kind of took the place of that, and it's really kind of worked out really good. And then supplementation I'll take, depending on how long I'll be working out or the intensity of the workout, I'll take a Fuel 5 supplement as well. About 1 scoop of that, and then the Hydro in addition. And then afterwards, depending if I'm getting to eat right away or not, or if I'm coaching, I'll take a scoop of protein from X Endurance as well. And then during my workouts, I'll grab one of these guys, Fit Aid. So this got creatine built in, really low glycemic, very little sugars, but good electrolytes for during the workout. And then at night, I'll do some magnesium from X Endurance.
Yeah, and you get that muscle relaxation. That's super crazy, man, because, I did medical school, and, dude, I don't know how you're doing it, but, more power to you, because that's fucking crazy.
You were busy. You were doing other things. You're crazy, too. Don't get me wrong.
We're all fucking crazy, man. Why the fuck did we go to medical school? That's crazy in itself.
You need the hard work. You're sitting. You got to move, man.
Yeah, you got to do it. I want to wish you guys so much luck. I talk a lot about disease and people being sick and how to fix disease. So every once in a while, I like to bring out some healthy people that, that are killing it out there, and you guys are, like, amazing for what you're doing. It's super difficult to qualify to the regionals, and you guys did it, and that's an accomplishment on itself. And I wish you the best of luck with your careers, the way they're going. It sounds like you're going to be helping a ton of people in the future. Just keep rocking and rest and digest, and you just keep doing it, man, because this is pretty fucking cool. Thank you so much. It's been an hour, and I hope we didn't bore people to death, but I think I think there's a lot of people out there that geek out and stuff like this, so this is going to be pretty cool.
I think they'll have fun with us.
Thank you so much for having us.
Oh, no problem, man.
Really appreciate it.
Yeah, I need to drop out by the gym, and maybe you guys can school me on some.
Man.
It's about time.
Make it happen.
Well, thank you so much, guys, and good luck once more.
Our pleasure, Guillermo.
Bye.